Humans have been domesticating animals for roughly 10,000 years. Agriculture, cattle, horses, sheep, all relatively recent. Dogs are different. The bond between humans and dogs is at least 15,000 years old, possibly 40,000. That's older than farming, older than written language, older than almost every other thing we call civilization, which raises an obvious question. Why dogs? Why first? Why so deep? Because trust in the ancient world wasn't given freely. Think about what life actually looked like 20,000 years ago. Your group is small, maybe 30 or 40 people. Every relationship you have is with someone you've known your entire life. Strangers are dangerous. New animals are dangerous. The wrong decision about either one could get you killed. Ancient humans were not naive. They were extraordinarily careful about what they let inside their circle. And yet, at some point, they let wolves in. That should seem impossible. Wolves were competition. They hunted the same prey. They were large, fast, and built to kill. Bringing one anywhere near a camp would have sounded insane. And still, it happened. Not once, not in one place. It happened independently, across multiple continents, in multiple cultures, across thousands of years. That's not coincidence. That's something deeper. And understanding it requires going back even further, to a moment long before anyone made a decision about anything. The relationship between humans and wolves didn't begin with a choice. It began with proximity. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans and wolves existed in the same landscapes, hunted the same animals, and faced the same challenges. They weren't allies. They weren't enemies. In the way predator and prey are enemies, they were something stranger, competitors. And like any two competitors operating in the same territory, they watched each other. Wolves are intelligent animals. They read body language. They track patterns. They notice when a group of humans makes a kill and leaves scraps behind. Early wolves learned that following humans could mean food. Not dangerous food, the leftover kind, the easy kind. And here's where something unexpected happened. The wolves that were most willing to get close to humans were not the boldest. The boldest wolves were too aggressive. They got driven away or killed. The wolves that survived near human camps were the ones that were slightly less afraid, calmer, more tolerant of human presence. And those wolves stayed longer. They had more access to food. They were healthier. They had more offspring. Generation after generation, without anyone planning it, the wolves near human camps were slowly selecting themselves. The fearful ones left. The aggressive ones were driven out. The calm, curious ones stayed, and their pups inherited that calmness. Then their pups did too. This process has a name. Scientists call it self-domestication. Nobody captured a wolf and decided to turn it into a dog. The wolves that could tolerate humans survived better near humans. Over thousands of generations, they changed. Their faces became slightly softer. Their bodies became slightly smaller. Their behavior became something new, something that didn't quite exist before, something that looked like trust. But proximity alone doesn't explain the depth of what developed. Lots of animals learned to tolerate humans. Pigeons, rats, foxes, crows, they all live near us. None of them became dogs. So what made the wolf different? Part of the answer is in how wolves actually live. Wolves are not solitary hunters. They operate in coordinated groups with clear social structures. They communicate constantly through posture, sound, eye contact, movement. They read each other's intentions with remarkable accuracy. And when researchers began studying how dogs interact with humans, they found something extraordinary. Dogs don't just obey humans. They read us. Show a dog a person pointing at something, and the dog will look where the finger is pointing. This sounds simple. It isn't. Chimpanzees, our closest relatives, largely fail this test. They look at the hand, not the direction. Dogs consistently follow the gesture. They understand what the human is trying to communicate. Dogs track human eye movement. They notice when a human is paying attention versus looking away. They respond to changes in facial expression. They recognize emotional tone in a human voice, even when they don't understand the words. Some studies suggest dogs have developed the ability to read human social cues better than almost any other animal on Earth, including species far more closely related to us than dogs are. For ancient humans, this was not a minor convenience. This was extraordinary. Imagine trying to coordinate a hunt with an animal that understood where you were looking, that could follow a gesture toward the tree line, that would alert you when something moved in the dark, that could track a wounded animal through terrain a human couldn't navigate quickly, that would return, that would stay. A dog wasn't just a companion, a dog was a tool that thought, a partner that communicated, and in a world where survival depended on information, where knowing something was hiding in the grass could mean the difference between eating and being eaten. That kind of partner was worth more than almost anything else. There's another piece of this that almost nobody talks about. Ancient humans were not always the most dangerous thing in their environment. Lions, leopards, hyenas, and wolves all preyed on humans at various points in history. The hours after dark were particularly dangerous. A fire helped, walls helped when they existed, but the most effective early warning system wasn't built built by human hands. It heard things before humans did. It smelled things humans couldn't detect. It woke before anyone realized something was wrong. Researchers who study small-scale traditional societies today have consistently noted that dogs sleep at the edges of camps. Not inside, not far away, at the edge. Exactly where they're most useful as an alarm system. And when something moves in the dark, the dog reacts before anyone else knows to be afraid. This behavior didn't need to be trained. It emerged naturally from the same territorial instincts wolves had always had. A dog that considers a human camp its territory will defend that territory. It will bark. It will wake the group. It will sometimes engage a threat that a human would have faced alone. Some anthropologists have calculated that a dog's early warning capability could have meaningfully reduced the risk of nighttime predator attacks. That's not a small thing. That's potentially the difference between a camp surviving intact and a camp losing members it couldn't afford to lose. Trust in the ancient world was earned by usefulness, and dogs were consistently, reliably, extraordinarily useful. But here's the part that still surprises researchers. The relationship went both ways. Early humans didn't just tolerate dogs, they fed them, they sheltered them, they grieved them. Archaeological sites from multiple continents and multiple time periods contain deliberate dog burials, not thrown away, not abandoned, buried, sometimes with objects, sometimes with care that suggests something more than practical value. That grave in Israel, an elderly woman, 12,000 years old, buried with her hand resting on a puppy, isn't the only one. Similar burials have been found in Germany, Russia, North America, the Middle East. Across thousands of years and thousands of miles, humans kept making the same choice, to bury their dogs. This matters because ancient humans didn't waste resources. Every choice had a cost. Feeding a dog meant giving it food someone else could have eaten. Burying a dog required effort and time that had other uses. People don't do those things for tools. They do them for individuals they recognize as part of the group.
At some point, dogs stopped being useful animals that lived near humans. They became something else. They became members. And that transition from tolerated scavenger to trusted companion to grieved family member happened so gradually that no one alive could have named the moment it changed. That's what makes this story different from every other domestication story. Cattle were controlled, horses were broken, chickens were enclosed, dogs were included, and somehow, across 15,000 years, that hasn't changed. Humans today keep dogs in a way that doesn't make obvious economic sense. They sleep in our beds. We carry photographs of them. We adjust our schedules around their needs. We spend enormous amounts of money on their medical care. We talk to them, knowing they don't understand most of the words. We tell them things we don't tell other humans. If you try to explain this behavior purely through utility, it falls apart almost immediately. Most dogs today serve no practical survival function whatsoever. They don't hunt, they don't guard against leopards, they don't track wounded prey through the forest, and yet the relationship persists, not weakened, not replaced. If anything, it's deeper than it's ever been. Perhaps because some part of the ancient equation still holds, a brain shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of living with these animals, a social system that evolved, in part, around their presence, instincts that still respond to a dog the way instincts always have, as something familiar, something trustworthy, something that belongs inside the circle. We don't keep dogs because they're useful. We keep dogs because somewhere in the architecture of the human mind, they already feel like ours. The wolves that chose to stay near human fires changed over thousands of generations into something new. But the humans changed too. Two species shaped by each other. One learning to read human faces, the other learning to read animal behavior, each making the other slightly more likely to survive. And in the end, that's what trust has always been. Not a feeling, not a decision, a history. A long, slow, accumulated record of showing up and being useful and staying. Dogs have been building that record for a very long time.